Hello guys, how are you today? I am back with another video. And as usual, have my little friend here. And this time she's going to keep me company while I tell the story. Sitting her right here in my lap and holding on to her tight. Now, in the last video, like I said, if you haven't watched it, I will leave a link in the description box below. This is another witch story, but this witch story does not involve me. It involves my twin brother. Now, we were a lot older then, around 18, 19 years old. We had moved to a different area and kind of scattered out a little bit. My oldest brother, he lived on the northwest side with his girlfriend. Well, no, actually his wife. He was married then. And my twin brother, he was staying with his girlfriend and their parents and her parents, and he lived right down the street from where I lived at with my mom. I stayed with my mom. Now, the house that his girlfriend's mom owned, it was a very old house. This house was so old, it didn't have any type of electricity. It didn't have any heat or anything. It barely had plumbing. I think the plumbing was the only thing that worked. There was no wires that were run for electricity. The family inherited the home from a relative, and when the relative owned the home, they never updated the home. So there was, my mistake, there was electricity. Well, the electricity didn't run all the way through the home. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there was 2 floors and I think an attic space. Now, my twin brother and his girlfriend, they stayed in the attic space. And then the rest of the family, they had their bedrooms on the first and second floor. They had to use candles a lot because, like I said before, there was some electricity, but it didn't run throughout the whole house. Now, my brother was telling me that there was strange things happening in the house. You could hear things moving around. You could see shadows. You could hear people talking when there wasn't anybody there. And the family, they was always arguing about something there. There was always something going on with the family. They didn't agree, and there was always a lot of arguing and hell brewing up in that place. One day, the family had decided to get together and play some cards on the first floor and drink and listen to music and all that other good stuff. Now, my brother said that they had been arguing all day long, bickering about anything and everything. So he's sitting over on the side by the television waiting for them to finish their discussion so they could start playing cards. And he said he kept hearing a sound from the cabinet that the TV was sitting on. The sound was coming from underneath the cabinet. And he kept looking around because he wasn't really for sure that the sound was coming from underneath the cabinet. He kept looking around, and he finally decided to open up the cabinet door to see what was going on. And he said when he opened up the cabinet door, the objects that was underneath the cabinet, bric-a-brac, whatever you want to call it, was moving around. So he closed the door, and he kept sitting there for a while. Family couldn't get it together. They couldn't agree on anything. And so he decided to go upstairs and lay down and go to bed. His girlfriend, she was still downstairs with the family and everything, and he was upstairs. He said he had a drink, smoked a cigarette, put on some music really low, only he could hear it, to kind of lighten up the mood from all the loudness that was going on the first floor. And after a while, he finally fell asleep. Now, he says he don't know how much time passed, but he was awakened by voices. And he didn't hear anybody come upstairs. He didn't hear anybody come in the room, but he kept hearing people, women, talking. So he said he opened his eyes and raised his head, and there was 3 witches sitting at the foot of his bed, and they were talking. He said they were different races, and they were talking. And before he could lay his head back down, he said they turned and looked at him. And when they turned and looked at him, they started coming toward him. He told me he was so afraid. He was so frightened. He couldn't even move. He couldn't scream. He couldn't move. He was frozen right in the space that he was at. And the only thing he could remember is my mom telling us, she always told us when we were kids that if anything like that starts to bother you, to say your Our Father prayers. And when you say your Our Father prayers, it'll go away. So that's what he said in his mind. He started saying his Our Father prayers. He closed his eyes, and when he opened his eyes, they were gone. And then there was another time, because the way he explained the attic was set up, there was 2 spaces in the attic, 2 rooms. There was one where the bed was at, and there was another room off to the side. And another time, he fell asleep, and the same thing happened. He opened his eyes, there was nothing there, but he kept hearing the voices. He raised his head to look to see if the same thing was happening again. The 3 witches were sitting at the foot of his bed, and it wasn't that. He sit up. He said he sat up in the bed and looked over to the right where the extra room was, and the door was open. And he saw something in the room. It looked like a light. Now, there wasn't supposed to be a light in the room because there was no, there was no electricity. Because there was no electricity running throughout the house, that room stayed dark all the time. So he was wondering where the light came from. And he said he sat up in the bed turned toward where the light was, and he saw a flame, like somebody had started a fire in a fire pit or something like that, or logs. And when he glanced in at it to focus on it, he saw witches dancing around the fire. And they was mumbling. He couldn't understand what they was saying. And they was chanting. And like I said, he said he couldn't understand what they was saying. And he said it scared him so bad. He said he didn't want to get up and start moving around because he didn't want them to notice that he was looking at him. So what he decided to do was he decided to lay back down. He turned over on his side where his back was facing the door. He said his Our Father prayers again, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up, everything was back to normal. He told me after the second encounter, he decided that he couldn't live there anymore. There was too much going on there. There was too much bickering, too much hell and all that other stuff. And so he ended up moving back in with my mom and I. And he stayed there for a while until he ended up getting his own place. Now, guys, I'm sorry that this story was really short. But anyway, this is what happened to him. Now, I can't explain to you exactly why they came to him like that. The only thing that I could suggest that might make sense is that a long time ago, many, many years, could have been hundreds of years before houses was built there, built in the area, and it was all land. My brother was seeing remnants of what was going on, and the fact that there was always disagreements in the house and evil and bickering and everything, that it made whatever that was happening there, made it stronger where it visualized. Now, that's the only thing I can think of. That's the only thing that makes sense. But anyway, he said that after that happened, he couldn't stay there anymore. And like I said, he ended up moving back with my mom and I until he got his own place. Okay, guys, that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it, even though it was short. I do have another one, a final one. And this one, it's not about witches, but it does have something to do with their relics. And I was a witness to this. And I hope you come back to hear the final story, because this one is really going to creep you out. So as I always say at the end of every video, let's work together to live better. And always, always thank you for watching. My little friend here thanks you for watching. She hopes you come back for the final video. And please, guys, I have already uploaded 2 videos about witches. And if you are remotely interested, please check out those stories. They have some information in there and everything. It gives a little bit more background as to why my family was targeted by different entities. And I'll be back. I'll be back next Saturday for the final video. And show my little friend here some love, because she really appreciate you guys taking the time to check out these videos and everything. And I'll be back.